Have you ever wondered about the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, or maybe even a counselor and a therapist? I know it's easy for me to get those terms mixed up. So today, we're at Morningstar Counseling talking about healthcare careers, not about our physical health, but about our mental health. Here we go. I'm with Dr. Anitra Warrior, who's a psychologist here at Morningstar Counseling. Anitra, tell us a little bit about what Morningstar Counseling is all about, what you do.
Yeah, so Morningstar Counseling is a behavioral health clinic that serves children, adults, families all across the state of Nebraska. We're very fortunate to have various levels of providers for our clinical team, as well as community advocacy, and just a really well-rounded clinic to serve the population of Nebraska.
Oh, that's awesome. And why did you start this company? What was the passion behind it?
Yeah, so for me as a consumer of behavioral health services, I struggled to feel comfortable with my provider and recognize that I had different beliefs that didn't align with her beliefs. And so from that, I decided I'm going to start my own clinic and work with people to know how to work with diverse groups.
Okay, let's talk about what sort of education you needed to be able to start this company and practice.
Right, so with my particular practice, it's considered a professional corporation. So with this clinic, you do have to have a PhD to operate the clinic. And with the PhD, it takes about, including your bachelor's, it can take up to 12 years to get the degree.
Wow. So it's certainly about a passion about the things you love doing and a commitment by following through with all that schooling and education that's needed to start an operation like this.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know, do you have a young professional who works here that maybe we could hear about their story and what it took for them to become part of Morningstar?
Definitely. We could have you talk with Kylie Baxter. She's a recent graduate of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and she's
exciting.
one of our behavioral health providers who actually travels throughout the state to provide clinical services.
Okay, all right, let's go talk to Kylie. I'm here with Kylie Baxter, who's a therapist at Morningstar Counseling. Kylie, tell us a little bit about what you do in your role as a therapist.
Yes, so my official title is a PLMHP, or what the state calls a provisionally licensed mental health therapist.
Big title.
Yes, a very long title, which really summarizes down to I'm a therapist. So I do a lot of mental health work, a lot of support with people of all ages. Primarily right now I work with students and college students, but I can work with employees, staff, really anybody who might need support. So.
Okay, and where do you do this work? Is it all in an office? Do you get to move around? What's that like?
I do it anywhere. Therapy, that's the cool thing about it, is mental health doesn't stop at any point. So good or bad, healthy, unhealthy. So I can do therapy in a therapist's office. I can do therapy through Zoom on telehealth, but I also travel a lot for work. So I actually go into Lincoln Public Schools, Omaha Nation Public Schools, and Winnebago Public Schools. So I can do therapy anywhere in the state of Nebraska.
Oh, that's great. And exciting that you can travel and do that. That's fun. So let's talk about how you got into this career. What was the spark, the inspiration for this role?
I really enjoyed working with people. That's really important to doing work in mental health, is you gotta like people, but really interested in supporting people and staying healthy. I feel like there's a lot of stigma around mental health, but I wanted to be able to show like it wasn't scary. It's meant to really support you and help you in having a successful life, and wanting to work with students who had experienced trauma, or just really anybody who had experienced trauma, and work with Native populations to give back to my community, my family, and really just help people in general.
Oh, I love that path. Let's talk a little bit about how you got here education-wise. What sort of education did you have? Do you need to do this role?
Yes, so you don't need any experience in high school. You can kind of take, obviously you want to take college prep classes, but you do need at least a 4-year degree for your undergrad so that you can transition into a master's program, which is about 2 to 4 years, depending on what program you do. And that is the minimum level to receive a master's degree. Anything beyond that, like a psychologist, there are other degrees and careers in mental health, you do need more education beyond that.
Yeah, so you gotta love people,
Yes.
you gotta be able to do the education work because there's a lot there, and kind of continuing and practicing and going and learning on the job. Let's talk about some of the rewards or other areas in this career. What's rewarding about this career?
Giving back to the community, working with Native communities and populations that traditionally have been underserved, but being able to be myself as I do it and provide really just like authentic people interaction, but to be able to bring culture into the session and into what we're doing together is really important and rewarding to really truly connect with somebody on that level.
Yeah.
So that's a huge reward for me. Also, I love working with kids, being able to play games and have fun in session. Therapy isn't all talking and seriousness.
Yeah.
One of the challenges might be just dealing with stigma. Mental health has a stigma in the past, and so that can, it's hard to sometimes break down some of those barriers, and that it can be really uncomfortable to start therapy and open up with a person that's kind of like a stranger at first. So that can be difficult. I love that I get lifelong learning. It's always a challenge. I get to keep learning and keep reading. If I'm not stimulated in that way, it's just all puzzles. I just go straight for puzzles and straight for books.
There you go. And so how would someone else who's maybe a student right now, how would they know if this is the type of career for them? What sort of advice do you have?
If you're curious, you want to stay curious. You want to obviously want to work with people. That's a really important part of the job.
Yeah.
But I think those would be the two biggest key factors, because with therapy, you're always looking for ways to support. You have to be curious. You have to be on the lookout, very detail oriented, because you want to be able to connect with that person. And if you're not listening, you can't do that. But you have to get creative too, because not everything works for everybody. Everybody's very individual in what helps them. So you have to be able to listen. You have to be able to support in that way. I would say those things.
All right, so if there's a way we could show other people what your job looks like, is that something we could do here?
Yes, we can kind of have a role play. So if you feel comfortable playing, say like a high school student, I can bring out some toys and we can have some fun.
Okay.
All right, well, Ryan, it's good to see you again today. How are you doing? How's school going?
School is good. I had a test though, and I didn't study very well for it.
Okay. So I know we had talked about some test anxiety last week, and you learned some facts about what happens when we feel really stressed out. What'd you kind of do to deal with some of that when that was happening?
I was just kind of mad at myself really for not studying. Yeah.
Would you be open to practicing a relaxation skill with me?
Sure. Yep.
All right, so it looks like you got all your fidgets out. Do you want to pick one?
I'm going to try this thing.
Okay, yeah, the fidget cube?
Yeah.
All right, actually, I'm going to grab a cube so that I can do it with you. We're gonna do a mindfulness activity. So the purpose of this activity is to really take focus of where we're at so that we don't let all those thoughts kind of take over and run. And that shows us that it shouldn't take us too long, especially if we're practicing a test, to kind of get that thought process going.
Well, Kylie, thank you for showing us what it's like to work as a therapist and see your job in action. So if you're the type of person who likes interacting with others and continuing to learn and grow, this might be the type of career for you. And what else do we need to do to pursue that?
Youth, just seek out a mentor in the mental health field that can answer some questions for you.
Okay,